Viviana, thank you so much for being here with me on Flute Unscripted.
Katie, thank you. This is an honor and my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Of course, all of your friends and fans kind of know the story of your youth and all the adversity that you kind of faced and everything you had to overcome. So I thought we might start there since it feels like you're kind of having a full circle moment lately. You had an accident not too long ago, a couple of years ago, that kind of brought you in the same place again, where you had to kind of overcome a lot and it changed your life. So just to kind of go all the way back, in case people weren't aware of kind of how you started off, you were born in Chile and you were born with dislocated hips. Your family moved you to the States in hope of just finding really great medical treatment for you. And you underwent numerous surgeries. You're in a body cast, and doctors predicted you would never walk. You spent the first 11 years of your life having surgeries and being um, in those body casts. So, can you talk about how you feel like your mental fortitude, which is, I think, what you're known for today, how that was kind of forged from that experience, and how you kind of embraced that view of these obstacles really being opportunities for you?
Oh, that's it. That's it right there. I was born with a hip dysplasia, a congenital bilateral hip dislocation. This is a hip socket, a normal hip socket, but I had no hip sockets. And I didn't have it on either side. And I was the worst case in Chile. And so my father, my parents, my mother, they decided to drop everything. They left their family, they left their homes, they left their jobs, uprooted us with two daughters, two suitcases, and $2,000,
Wow.
came to the US to Stanford Hospital in the Bay Area and checked me in because they were not going to take me not walking as my life.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for that. Now, when I was in my body cast, and I'll maybe send you a picture if you want to include the body cast picture, from here down to my toes, I couldn't run, I couldn't walk, I couldn't play, I couldn't do anything. But if they flipped me over on the hospital gurney where I lived, I could play the piano. So to this day, I say that music healed my life.
Of
My
course.
yeah, my mother still is a pianist and accordionist, and she used to tour throughout South America. So she installed this love of music, this the discipline that music brings us, and I'm so thankful that I embraced the music. It has brought me so much joy. It has taken me, my magic wand has taken me to 135 countries. This is my
Yeah.
magic wand. I mean, who knew that a little girl from Concepcion de Chile, Viviana Esther Gajardo Guzman Diaz Perez, but you can call me Viv, would end up playing and traveling around the world. And I think it's because I was so restricted as a child that now I don't take, and because I was told I would never walk,
Yeah.
I am determined to break down anything, all the no's, and I just bulldoze. Well, I don't know if bulldoze is the right word, but I refuse to accept no as an answer. So
I was going to say
now,
that seems like a theme with your family, not accepting no as an answer for your health and saying we'll figure this out, and that's something that you continue to do to this day.
I'm just so thankful for my mother who instilled she empowered me very early. I remember being, I don't know, 5 years old and watching a cartoon, and then it stopped being on air. And so I was complaining. I said, why did they stop that cartoon? It was my favorite one. And she said, why don't you write the station a letter? And so I did. She helped me write the letter in my horrible writing at the time. And they re-aired the cartoon.
Look at
So
that.
it just
Yeah.
showed me that, I'm powerful. I can do this. And I say this because you are powerful. All of you who are listening can do this too.
Sure. And how did then music play a role in your healing process? Because I know, you've always been a creative person, and you started off studying medicine, interestingly enough. when you were in the States, but then your passion for creative arts, for dance, music, poetry, all of it just kind of took over. So how has music kind of played a role in your life and healing you and just being a central driving force?
Wow. Well, Katie, you certainly did your homework. Thank you. Yes. Well, the music, well, music is healing. Music is empowering, and music just adds so much. It's a form of communication. It's the universal language, and having it as my main focus, my main stage, and then I just throw all my creative pursuits. And basically, the underlining thing that, again, my mother taught me, my father too, is just whatever I'm excited about, to just go, the passion, whatever I'm passionate about, whatever I'm just interested in, I just dive right into it, regardless of how insane it might sound. So one of the things I remember when I was at Juilliard with Julius Baker, I, on the weekends, would take these dance classes that were prescribed by my doctor to develop my severely atrophied hip muscles. So I was studying Middle Eastern dance on the weekends, but my two sides, my very conservative classical self and my belly dancing self, I couldn't bring them together. And I was living like a double life at that time. Until then, fast forwarding a decade or so, then I felt comfortable enough to, or after Shakira, actually, I remember it was Shakira's doing that. She okayed, or she made belly dancing a valid art form. And so I started throwing that onto my performances. And I've also included poetry in my performances, and just anything that I'm interested in, I just kind of dive in with this laser focus and learn about it, and then
Yeah.
throw it onto the stage. And it's just been something that I've always done. And I feel that when we tap into our passions, that's when we're happiest, we're creative, we're just and it leads to more gratitude and just all sorts of wonderful things.
When did that kind of moment click for you where you felt like I want to be an artist on my own terms and in my own way? Because you kind of started off on the traditional path, at least for flute playing. You went to Rice, Juilliard, and you graduated and you moved to the West Coast, and started doing cruise liner jobs as well. So when did it kind of all come together?
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that. It just always evolves, and it's still evolving.
Yeah.
I graduated from Juilliard, and I realized I was perfectly manicured to play in an orchestra, but I wasn't excited about playing in an orchestra. I remember getting the Houston Grand Opera job when I was at Rice, sort of more on a pre-med sort of thought. And when I accepted the job, I just thought, well, maybe I should major in music, and I need to go to Juilliard. And so that kind of kept me down the music path rather than that. And then, sorry, I forgot the question.
Just, after graduating Juilliard, I feel like a lot of people
Oh,
might
right.
might
So
wonder,
yeah,
what's next? And for you, you just kind of took off.
right. And then I had a boyfriend in Miami, and that's why I played in the New World Symphony for a while. But I had been principal flute of the Houston Youth Symphony Orchestra for 10 years, and then by going Aspen every summer as well on the full fellowship, that also, I just had played a lot of orchestral music. I felt like I'd played everything already by the time I was about 23. And back then, I didn't like a lot of conductors. I felt that they were all men and super egomaniacs. I just
Yeah.
wasn't really excited about that. So then, thankfully, I joined a quartet. This was classical guitar, flamenco guitar, jazz guitar, and me. And they had lost their fourth member, and they invited me to come in. And it had management. We had tours, like months and months and months of. It was the Columbia Artists Management touring arm. So we had I mean, it was just like the perfect situation for me because that's what I wanted to do. I wasn't really sure how I wanted to have it happen. I wanted to travel and I wanted to perform. And somehow, because I was open to it and because I really would meditate on it and think about this is what I want to do. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's got to happen. And it just did.
Yeah.
And that's where music life is magic. And that's what I'm always in pursuit of. Where is the magic going to lead me next? And so I'd like to just segue into the 2020. So my whole life just boom, stopped. I had just done my Silk Road tour. I had played as a soloist with the orchestra in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, and Bishkek in Kyrgyzstan, and then went to Bukhara and Samarkand. It was just an amazing tour. They just turned me into this rock star because I was doing TV interviews, and it was just fabulous. And then I went to Mexico and played with the Zacatecas Orchestra, which Zacatecas is amazing. And the orchestra, the hall was like this backdrop back here, just a historic, just gorgeous acoustics. It was just beautiful. And then I went on and I jumped on a ship that took me to Barbados and Brazil and Argentina and Chile and on and on. Anyway, then bam, I was forced to go home because the world stopped in March. And I just thought, wow, this is different. I've never done this before. And then my world stopped even more when I was driving along in my husband's convertible down the coast highway here, 2-lane road, 50 miles an hour. And I don't remember anything, but what I was told was we were 50 miles an hour and it's a head-on collision. And I just completely blacked out. And I blacked out 30 minutes or to an hour before then too. I remember being in the Santa Cruz Mountains and then I ended up on the coast. So I don't remember any of that. I woke up and I just was in darkness and I said, where am I? What's going on? But I could hear people and somebody said, you were in a car accident. You broke your femur and you smashed your face. You're in the San Francisco General Hospital. And I just went, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I have this huge scar here, which I know now how to cover up. And I have a tattooed eyebrow because it took my eyebrow, took my vision. I have trauma-induced glaucoma on my left eye. And it broke my femur. So all of a sudden I was at I couldn't even walk to the bathroom. I couldn't do anything. I mean, I needed help to bathe. I needed help to eat. It was amazing. And so, but the biggest lessons that I learned from this, the loss of vision, I just thought, okay, I may have lost vision, but what did I gain? What's different now that's better than before? And yeah, maybe now my femur's broken and I've had to relearn to walk again.
Yeah.
But how can I do this now even better than before? So as a result, and it never would have happened if it hadn't been for my miracle blessing, my accident. It took me back to relearning how to walk from square one, from like crawling. Okay. And I've been able to continue developing this one muscle that I have never, ever, ever had. And it's one that was so severely atrophied that I was using other muscles to compensate. And I was developing this horrible chronic back pain. But as a result of my miracle blessing, now I've developed this new muscle and I'm finally able to walk like everyone else,
That's
which
amazing.
is
Great.
huge.
And this made you like
Huge.
reevaluate
It's
your lifestyle as well too, which is a whole other component. Can you talk about that?
everything,
Yeah.
everything. I mean, I just thought, wow, will I be able to, because right after I was in the San Francisco General Hospital, I also got a pulmonary embolism and you can die from that as well. And oh my goodness, I couldn't play for a while, but I didn't focus on what I couldn't do. I was thinking of what do I want to do once I'm pasted, put back together. I went through 5 major surgeries in 2020, trying to put my eye, my face, my legs, everything back together. And I just started embracing stillness. That's and the beauty of stillness, of meditating, of listening to my inner voice. I was going so fast before that I was missing out on the beauty around me. I was missing out on the seasons. I didn't even know California had different seasons. I mean,
Yeah.
and I discovered the farm that's next door. I would go visit the horses, and my family and friends. I received so many wonderful cards and calls from all over the planet. I really found out who my real friends are
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And especially with my new vision, I have to say that my husband looks more handsome than ever. He became not only, and seriously, he became not
Yeah.
only my cook, because I couldn't cook. He became my chef, my chauffeur, and my nurse. I mean, he did everything, and while holding a full-time job. So
Of course.
I didn't realize he had it in him to be that way. And I've just 1,000% love him and appreciate him. I'm so thankful for him, even more than before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are gifts that I never would have imagined had I not gone through this wild darkness,
And you were going through
journey
this
into the darkness.
at the same time that also the world was shutting down because of the pandemic too. So that must have been, I would imagine it's interesting to know that other people are all in isolation, as well as you being in isolation. Was that somewhat comforting? Make
It
it,
was the best year that this could have happened. If
yeah,
this had happened any other time, it would have been so even more devastating than it was.
heartbreaking.
I mean, it was
Yeah,
devastating because I couldn't do anything.
anything.
And I was so, I realized my drive was so intense. I'd wake up and, okay, what am I going to do? And I'd get on the computer and start, and where am I going next? And where do planning this tour and getting in touch with that person and all of that had to absolutely stop.
Yep.
And I had to throw my oars. I just had to just go with the flow, sit in the boat with no assistance, with no driving force. I want to go that way. No, I was forced to just embrace what is and to really focus on the gratitude of everything that I had. I was so thankful that I still had my fingers,
Yeah.
and I have a scar here. And the doctor said if it had gone down, if it had impacted a millimeter further down, it would have affected my jaw and my ability to play.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it was just a wonderful 2 years. It took me 2 years of recovery, of really honing in on the gratitude, of the littlest gratitude of being able to work on this new muscle, of being able to walk like a normal person, and then as slowly by this year, my tours started coming back. And I remember I first went to Hawaii. I was really freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't performed in 2 years. Do I still know how to do this? It was really, really scary. But again, that was another thing. Just
And
going through
did
the
it come back to
fears.
you once you kind of did get back on the horse? Did you feel like it just all came back?
It did. And I have just another level of appreciation for the whole thing. I mean, I've always been thankful, but I mean, every time I perform now, I thank the audience for being there. I thank the audience for everyone who claps. Or,
Of course.
I mean, I'm just so it's a privilege to be a performing artist and to,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, let's say I went to Alaska too. I was in Cabo, and I mean, they're kind of more local because I like being more exotic travel. But it was, I just recently was in Canada, and then, oh, I just played with the orchestra in Guayaquil. Oh, that's the other thing. Now with my new vision, I have to play memorized. So I have to, that's what I learned from Sir James long ago when I did a masterclass with him in Aspen. He demanded that all his students play memorized. And so I've always intended to, but now I absolutely have to. So I'm glad I have that training.
And now that things are back, you're planning tours, you're traveling, getting a little bit back more into it. What perspective do you have to bring into this new life, while also making sure you're staying grounded and resisting the urge to get back to that kind of like hamster wheel, as you were referring to it?
Exactly. Well, that's the big thing. Maintaining the balance. And it's constantly fine tuning it. Before I would have pushed to tour one, let's see, I was usually on tour for a week, and then I was off a week, on a week, off a week. And now it's been maybe a week to 10 days every month, which is significantly less than before.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've been able to spend more time with my mother, who's aging, and I may not have her for much longer. I'm spend more time with my husband and my friends and my animals, my pets.
Mhm.
So it is a balance. And really, before I was always so into just making things happen. I'm just allowing things. I'm just floating with seeing what happens. Okay, it's going to flow this way. And it's stepping back a bit. That is so beautiful. That is one of the biggest new tools that I have. The wisdom of slow speeds,
Yeah.
the 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 wisdom of listening to my inner self during that can only be accessed during the slow speeds. Another thing that emerged during, because I couldn't do anything else, is I really focused on my astrology, my tarot, and I started a dream analysis podcast, which is called Healing Dreams Project. I This is what's come. I was meditating so much, and I had so much in these other realms that were coming through, that I started doing astrology readings at a store in town, and tarot card readings just more often. I just started bringing that into my realm of things that I enjoy and very much love to do.
Yeah. And how does all of this now come into play with your teaching? Because I know you're really passionate about that as well, and kind of passing on life's lessons to your students. Let's switch gears and talk a little bit about how this all relates to flute playing.
Well, you know, I can only just continue saying this to my students. I hope it's the biggest satisfaction when I get an email of gratitude from a student saying, "Oh, thank you so much. I love your positive energy has made me break through this, and I was really frustrated, but now I'm not." And that for me is just food for my soul. That is worth more than $1 million. I mean, I feel like a millionairess because of all that I get back from my students.
Yeah.
They continue to inspire me. They continue to keep me on my toes. And then I just love it when I hear that they feel inspired by what I've been through, and how I was able to accept myself and honor myself in the face of adversity, with transforming the adversities, and how to transform those obstacles and turn them, or even the fears. I talk about this almost every time I teach a masterclass. It's about, because a masterclass is about performing, and so many people come up and they're so fearful and scared and shaking, and it's about focusing on turning that fear and shifting it into a power, and make all your insecurities become your biggest strengths. And that is so beautiful. I love that.
That's amazing advice. And in addition to everything you're doing and having a career as a touring soloist, and building your schedule, you're also just involved in a slew of different projects and organizations. So can you talk about what it's been like for you to be a businesswoman in this industry and any advice that you have for others that are looking to build their own opportunities?
Yeah, well, that's let's see. When I started the San Francisco Flute Society, there was nothing like that here in San Francisco. So I just thought, well, why not? And then that led to the San Francisco Flute Festival, which led to Flutes by the Sea Masterclass,
Yeah.
which indirectly or indirectly led to the Flute View magazine and all
Yeah.
these things. And people, especially beforehand, used to always say, how do you do all this? And I just think, well, I grew up in a body cast. So now life is easy. So I really just if I'm excited to work on a project, I will just do it. And I in the same way that within an ensemble or any kind of lesson situation, the teacher says, try doing it this way instead of saying, oh, but I can't because my finger hurts, or no, I can't because I can't breathe, or I have asthma today. I have asthma too, so that's not an excuse. um, or whatever this excuse du jour might be. No, I will not listen to it. And there's always a way. There's always a back window, a creative way, a creative back door that we can always go through. So again, if it's in your heart to start a flute society, just do it. If it's in your heart to start a podcast, go for
Let's
it.
go.
You know,
Yeah.
it's now I feel so empowered these days, because when I was younger, or your age, or the ages of you who are maybe listening right now, we had to go through all these gatekeepers. We couldn't just post something and be on any kind of video or TV. We had to submit it, and it was a huge process, and hopefully you knew the producer, which maybe was interested in the story. But now at a click of a button, we can just post onto Instagram, do a live video. And I mean, the it's endless what we can do. And by inspiring others, by broadcasting the message of gratitude and staying positive, I just think that we're just all helping humanity by doing this collectively.
Yeah. So then what's the next big thing for you? What is your latest passion?
My latest passion, well, it's still in the works. So I'm not going to unveil it
Okay.
yet,
Top
but
secret.
I'm
Right?
super excited. And and I dream big, so I have to kind of reel it in a little bit. In the meantime, I do have a recording that's come out with the Eroica Trio, Grammy nominated, beautiful women, beautiful uh, musicians, playing the work of Latin Grammy nominated Brazilian composer Jovino Santos Neto, who's huge in Brazil and in South America. I have some more tours coming up in Chile. I'm leaving for Chile next week or a week after, and Argentina and Peru and Guatemala and possibly back to Ecuador. So my tours are coming back, and I do have this new angle that I'm hoping to be able to unveil and launch soon. But for right now, it's still, a couple things. Actually, I have a couple projects. I just, it's still in the fetal stages. So
Okay.
once it's being birthed, I will get back to you.
Then you'll tell us. Well, we can't
Yeah.
wait. We'll keep an eye out for all of your exciting things on the horizon. Thank you so much for being on today. It was a real pleasure getting to talk with you.
Thank you, Katie, for all that you do. And thank you for having me on this fabulous podcast.
Anytime. Come back when those projects are all ready to talk about.
Thank you so much.